Hello and welcome to Victoriana. It's the beginning of November, the sun is shining, it's nice and cold, which is quite welcome. Lots of people say at this time of the year it's the end of the season, crops are finished, but really it's now time to start enjoying things like parsnips. And I'm just lifting a few Jerusalem artichokes, which we're now selling obviously, and going to have some of these for my tea. Been a busy month in October, and I'll just give you a quick run around the nursery and tell you what we've been up to. So as I said, I don't really consider the autumn and winter the end of the season. I'm looking forward to some parsnips soon. We've had a frost, so we can lift some now. The starches in the parsnips will have changed to sugars, so they'll be a lot sweeter than if they hadn't had a frost. Obviously we've got leeks to enjoy, we've still got some chard. All the brassicas over there in the cage coming on nicely, so it won't be long before we can have some sprouts and other bits and pieces from there. So big areas of the veg garden are empty, obviously, it's that time of year, but it's just a change in the crops that we're going to eat for over the winter months. So yeah, veg garden looks as we expected. One thing I will say is over there, if we can just go over, the saffron crocus coming into flower. We've already started picking some, picking the stamens out, so we should get some saffron for later on, which is excellent. And yeah, no, so veg garden is pretty good and as we'd want. So up here in the bee area, Richard's got the bees ready for the winter. He's put the guards on to stop the Mickey mice getting into the hives, and he's got one woodpecker guard on because we've got quite a few woodpeckers up here, and they would like to get in and try and get the little bit of honey that's in there. And he's got one to guard. We've trimmed everything down in the bee area now, so all the Millie's mix has been trimmed down, and this is pretty much as it'll be for the rest of the winter now. Here in the veg tunnel, things look pretty sad, obviously, as can be expected for this time of year. All the chilies have come out of here and they've gone into the bubble, where it's warmer and where the fruits will continue to ripen. We finished picking the tomatoes about a week, 10 days ago. Now we're trimming down the pots, and obviously all this compost will go out onto the veg garden. Cucumbers have just about finished. We're still picking the odd one or two. All the loofahs have been picked off now, and they've been harvested for seed, so they're drying out, and soon we'll be able to have the seed out of those. The one exciting thing here is the mouse melons on the end, which once again they've finished, so they look quite grotty. But earlier in the month of October, we were lucky enough to take a lot of the mouse melons, which Millie grew, and take them over to the Aspinall Foundation's Howlett's Wildlife Park, and see them being fed to elephants, gorillas and lemurs. So that was a good day out for us, and it was quite fun to see what they all made of these tiny little melons. But no, so the veg tunnel's empty now, or good as, and we'll have a month or so off before we start thinking about filling it up with bits and pieces, some winter veg leaves and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, it's empty for a month or so now.
You want to come a bit closer?
Yeah, well, they prefer wallowing at the bar.
No.
I'm a bit shy, John.
Thinking about it.
Not quite sure, are we? He doesn't seem too sure, does he?
He's a bit shy.
Oh, is he?
Everyone's staring at him. Sorry about that.
No, don't. Up here in the top house, we're actually quite full now, which is quite normal. Lots of the bits and pieces we grow have been moved in for the winter months. We actually run the house with the vents open, so we still get frost in here, but just not the hard frost. So everything's still good enough to plant out, but it's more a case that obviously things that are grown in pots, because they're out of the ground, aren't as hardy as if they're actually in the ground. So we need to move bits and pieces in for the winter months. So yeah, we're quite full. Everything looks nice and tidy. Dread to think of it, but we've already put the snow supports up, because obviously it won't be long before we have some snow, or we'll probably have some snow. But no, very, very happy. Looks really neat and tidy. Really good time of year for being up in the top house. Always happy at this time of year. So as I said, as the temperatures have dropped, we've moved all the chilies from the unheated veg tunnel and brought them into the bottom of the bubble. We're using them ourselves for making our sauces and pickles, and our friends over in Canterbury with their restaurant are also coming and picking and using them for the restaurant and for their sauces and pickles that they sell in the restaurant. So none of them go to waste, but anyone who comes in and sees us can obviously buy some. We've got some lovely nagas, and we've got the nice huge Pinocchio's nose over there. Some of them are a good foot long and more, which is fantastic. But no, here in the bubble we've really filled up. Temperatures are dropping outside, so we've brought everything in that's tender, and obviously with heating gas prices expensive as they are now, we literally need to use every inch of space so that we can make the most of the money that we have to put into here in fuel. So yeah, it's pretty full in here, and it's nice and tidy as well. Down here in the flower area, it looks a little bit sad that we've had some very rough weather in October, particularly lots and lots of rain and high winds, so the chrysanthemums have been knocked about quite a bit. But obviously we grow the plants for the flower rather than the plants, and there's still an awful lot of beautiful cut flower here that we're cutting and using in the house, etc. So it's not the end of the world that they're looking a bit untidy. I think it's just going to be an early season on the chrysanthemums this year, as in early in it finishing, but we can't have everything every year. So here on the beds we're in that sort of in-between time. We're moving everything around and making all the gaps for all the bare root stuff that we'll be lifting and bringing out onto the beds in the not too distant future. But the thing is, as I say, here we are beginning in November, and these potted fruit trees, just like the trees in the field, are still full of leaf. Now in previous years we've already lifted most of our stock, but because it has been so mild, an awful lot of things are still in leaf. We're actually going to start lifting this coming week. We're going to start with our raspberries and then go through from there. But yeah, so lots of gaps out here, but then there's an awful lot for us to fill it up with in the next few weeks. So that's about it really for the month, and we'll catch up with you at the beginning of December, which is quite scary really, nearly Christmas.